This week, our topic is writing instruction. We'll start with our story of the week, and the story of the week is The Fire Station by Robert Munsch. Watch the video of the story and then brainstorm how to use the book across the curriculum. Focus in on writing this week because that's our topic. Record your ideas on your weekly literature sheet and drop your ideas in the weekly literature sharing Dropbox. On this slide, you can check your ideas. This handout can be found on D2L in the weekly presentation file folder. I also have 3 links to this author. If you've never heard Robert Munsch stories before, they all have a similar style. And I chose this this story this week specifically because Robert Munsch has a very distinct writing style, and during my author study on him, we study his style and try to mimic it in our own writing. So he's a very diverse writer that allows you to really change up how a child writes. There's a video about Robert Munsch and allows you to meet him. And again, we've talked about the benefits of using this in your classroom. Read our weekly message. I just wanted to emphasize in our message that our topic is writing, and this is not handwriting. So make sure you have that right mindset as you enter into our presentation. For our opening activity, I want you to think back to your own elementary school experiences. What writing activities do you remember loving or hating? And share your experience right here on our Padlet board. I'll just share with you my writing experience that I think of when I think back to elementary school is in 2nd grade. I was part of a small group of students that made a classroom newsletter each Friday to send home, and we called it the Ice Cream Scoop. And we did drawings, and we had a joke area, we had a comic area, and then we would report on the different things that went on in our classroom for the week. Many years later, I remember that. And I can picture it in my mind as such a positive experience. And we want our writing experiences for our students to be memorable and enjoyable as well. So share your experiences here. You can share something you really loved or something you absolutely despised. Our journal question this week is not so much a question, but I want you to describe a classroom environment that supports reading and writing connections that motivate reluctant writers. So basically, how do we get those reluctant writers to want to write? And that is going to be through connecting our reading and our writing and having a comfortable environment. So how can we get to that point in our own classrooms? The first main topic of our presentation is why do we teach writing? And this slide is going to give you many good reasons why that are research-based. Click on the Listen and Learn podcast in the corner for more explanation. Now that we know why to teach writing, we're going to learn about the different types of writing. And I'm not going to get into every type, but I'm going to focus in on what you will be doing as a pre-K to 4 teacher. We have 3 main kinds of writing. Read about them and listen to our podcast for more explanation. And then we're going to have a try it out activity where you are going to listen to the 3 stories below. There will be a podcast right here in the corner. I'm not sure why it's not quite there yet. And you can also go into D2L in the presentation file folder and find copies of these stories if you like to have them in front of you. You're going to match the story to the type of writing, and then you'll go to the next slide to find the answers for this activity. Moving along, where do we have our writers write in our classroom? I'm going to talk to you about the informal writing environment you can create in your classroom that will promote reading and writing experiences. Click on the podcast for more information. Now here's the biggie. How do we teach writing? We'll start with writing workshop time and watch this short video of what it looks like to be a writer in 1st grade. Then I'm going to go through the basics, the resources and tools you need to have for each of your students. Click on the Listen and Learn podcast for more information. Within our writing program, we need explicit instruction. So this slide will discuss that for you. Also, you'll get to see a little mini lesson of explicit instruction, so watch our video right here and click on the Listen and Learn podcast to begin. Moving on to using mentor text. This slide has a lot of information on it. Start with the Listen and Learn podcast. Then you're going to watch this video and just remember to stop at 5 minutes and 32 seconds. And that's our stopping spot. And then we have 2 pictures that you can click on, and these will give you web resources for mentor texts that are excellent. We have a little sorting activity. This is not something you need to Dropbox. If you would like a hard copy of it, it is in the file folder for presentation files on D2L. But I'd like you to take the writing domains on the left and match them to their descriptions on the right. And then you can move to the next slide and see how well you did. On the next slide, is also a podcast in the corner. Make sure you listen to that for an explanation about each of our writing domains. We move into the writing process that most classrooms follow somewhere around kindergarten all the way through 3rd and 4th grade. Click on the podcast for a detailed explanation about how it works in a classroom. And then we move into our writing conference time. I'd like you to click on the podcast and then you'll move to the video to see a video conference in action. Another big component of writing workshop is sharing time, and it's actually really important, and a lot of learning takes place during sharing time. We're going to go back to that first video we were watching a bit ago, and we're going to start at 5 minutes and 32 seconds and watch until 9 minutes and 5 seconds. And then we're going to watch one more clip from 16:22 to 24:09. And I know this seems like they're long clips. You can scroll through them a little bit more quickly, but this is what a good quality sharing time looks like during writing workshop at the end. Click on the podcast before you start the video so you know specifically what you're watching for. We move into assessing writing, and there will be a podcast in the corner in just a moment. This is a really important component of our writing program because we need these students to definitely be learning, and we need to see their growth. We also want self-assessment. So you'll click on the podcast and have an explanation of this. Also, this elementary writing rubric can be found on D2L in the weekly presentation files if you'd like to have a copy for yourself. We're going to move into kid writing, which is the pre-K and kindergarten version of writing workshop. So we find more about that. Listen to the podcast, watch the video, and then you may click here to link you to the resources for this great website. We're going to end with other types of writing ideas that will happen in your classroom. One of these types is writing in journals, and there are 5 kinds of writing journals. Listen to the podcast to learn about each kind of journal, and then we're going to do a try it out activity. Again, if you'd like to have hard copies of these, they are on D2L in the presentation file folder. You're going to read a selection from each of the journals, and then you're going to try to match it to the type of journal that is modeled. If you need help, go back to the previous slide, and that will give you, again, the description of each type of journal. On the next slide, there's a podcast to check your answers and an explanation. We also move into what is the writing center in your classroom, and listen to the podcast for a better description of that. We definitely want to make sure that we're connecting our reading and writing experiences in the classroom. So read the slide, and then once you have some ideas, you can click on the little light bulb and share some of those. The next slide will give you many of the ideas that I use in my own classroom. There's a list and there's a podcast to listen to. Also, we want to connect literature with our writing activities, and we do that a lot during that weekly literature sharing. We talk about how to use that book and have writing connected to it. Listen to the podcast for an explanation of some others. We are going to end today with our web resources. Click on the podcast for more information. Each of these computers will give you a link also for some exploring, and then you do have a Padlet board to share something that you found. Wrapping up our weekly assignments, you have your weekly journal entry. And remember, the topic is to describe a classroom environment that supports reading and writing connections to motivate reluctant writers. We have our weekly literature sharing for the fire station. There are 5 Padlet boards within this presentation. The slides are listed there for your, just so you can check back in and make sure you have them all. Also, we have our participation points. Sorry, we're going to get rid of this part right here. The participation drop box for the week is going to be 2 items this week. We have the story type matching answers and the journal sort answers on slide 28. So if you could jump in there, let's see if we can get this correct for you. Okay, and then your pin board for your 10 pins on writing this semester. That won't be due to the end of the semester, of course. Whoa. What's going on here? Oh, I know. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties on the screen. There we go. All right, and last but not least, if you get to it, you definitely want to skim chapter 10, and there are 2 articles on D2L in the next folder, and those are going to be looking at the basal reading program and guided reading. We are almost done with our semester, so as we wrap things up, these are some of the last readings you'll be doing. So good luck this week and have fun learning about writing.